This episode of Brick City is brought to you by Max. Check out Max Trade Lines to boost your business credit profile. Go to www.makingachangeservices.com/tradelines to get started today.
Hello, people. Welcome back. This is the Real Charlemagne, host of the Brick City Show. I appreciate you guys supporting me all these years. I'm back 2024. We made it. If you're listening, hey, congratulations. Had a lot going on in 2023. Going to do, a lot of people lost individuals. A lot of people gained opportunities. Opportunities was lost. But, hey, we survived. We in 2024. We're going to make the best of it. I appreciate you joining me. This is the first show of the year. It's going to be a special show. We got an individual from my community. They have a big event coming up. I'm not going to give too much of that information up until I introduce him. But without further ado, Mr. Reginald Barrett, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, how are you doing? I'm great. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well, brother. So let's hear a little about Reginald, and then we're going to lead into what you're doing in the community.
Hey, I'm Reginald Barrett. I guess you could say I'm a native of Eastern North Carolina, Pitt, Greene County, Scuffleton. Nobody knows what Scuffleton is, right outside of Ayden. Grew up there, attended North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina, where I majored in political science. And one of the biggest things was to come back home to serve my community. I was raised. And so years ago, it seems like it's been a little while, but years ago, I joined the Pitt County NAACP after a family member, cousin, Mr. President C.C. Calvin C. Henderson, came to my family home and sat down to talk about a situation and left some applications, and I actually joined. And when I joined, he followed up with me and said, "I'm gonna put you to work." Little did I know it would lead to me actually becoming a member of the executive committee and stepping up, becoming actually an officer of the branch, and where I've been an officer for a number of years now.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome, man. So the NAACP, that's definitely a big thing in our community. We definitely gotta support each other. So growing up, were you, did you have that type of activism in you growing up? Were you a leader? You running for school president, things of that nature?
I wasn't necessarily ran for school president, but very active. Right?
Active, okay.
Active. I think it was a thing. I was active in my church, active in the community.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a scoutmaster, so of Boy Scouts of America. So that was quickly pushed into leadership skills, going through that training process of earning merit badges and stuff. And so I have to give a shout out to actually one of the reasons I probably got into the political realm is late Miss Lois Ann Williams. You know her, everybody knows. So I remember doing some canvassing with her when I was a young child.
Okay.
And just like all that interest of being able to get back to my community and plugged in and going to political rallies at my home church at Little Creek. And so just planted that seed in me early. I wanted to do something to help folks. I've always had that kind of passion to help people. So I just wanted to take it to the next step. And as you get older, you start to see more things. You want to see that I want to leave this world better than I found it. Right. So I guess it was in me, you could say, from the beginning.
Right. Okay. So push. We just discussed your early years. Push. Now this might spark an argument. Because most people say, look, it's either A&T or Central, best HBCU in the state now. So you attended North Carolina Central University, which is a well-versed HBCU in the state of North Carolina.
The best HBCU.
Okay, see, that's why I said I didn't want to start it. So you start.
Okay, I a lot of Eagles that stand behind me and say that we are.
I can. So what was your course of study while you was at
political science?
HBC, political science.
I did political science as my undergrad.
Okay, so how was that? Transitioning to where you are now? How was that?
So it's interesting. The story. I really wanted to go to law school, right? And so that's what I ended up going to political science. But went and got my degree and came back. But Dad said, let's go to work. I ended up in education versus going to law school. So and been in education now for about 17 years.
Oh wow.
Uh, and out of the 17 years I've been in education, the last 3 years I've been actually teaching in the classroom. So with that being said, but while I was in that process, that's how I kind of got involved in the community. I came back and
Hmm.
jumped right into the work of NAACP,
Okay.
uh, and kind of been there, just kind of doing what I could to
Hmm.
try, dive into the community, and ended up getting on the political action committee.
Okay.
And where I chair that committee now. But at that time, I just worked on political action committee, and I just remember doing like more door-to-door canvassing. I already had some experience in it through college and through that. So door-to-door canvassing and building teams and learning that whole process and putting what I had learned in college right to work right in that civic side of community organizing. So and it just kind of became a natural act for me to want to do it more and actually work with folks to understand their electoral right to vote. And
Hmm.
so getting out there and getting people educated and motivated to go to the polls and vote. So that was that thing that kind of drove me. Like we got
Hmm.
to do about it. We got to be more plugged into it because we can't do it just because we were told to do it. We got to
Right.
do it because we understand the process and understand what it does for our community and what it does for the folks who are coming behind us.
Okay. Now look. Now, what you just said, I totally understand. What were some of the challenges trying to educate individuals that don't believe in the system and trying to get them involved in the system?
What is always a challenge that most folks will argue when it comes to voting. My vote doesn't count, or my vote isn't heard, or these systems are going to do what they want to do anyway. So why should I even get involved? And my always answer is because uh, the more you vote, the more our voices are heard. And it
Hmm.
may not be an immediate change, but eventually a change will come. We will see change.
Right.
And we have to keep working at it. We have to keep, I mean, democracy is not perfect.
Right.
So something that we have to continue to work at, continue to knock at. We've seen it work
Hmm.
and we've seen it not work. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So depending on how you've engaged with it, you just can't give up on democracy. You have to understand it's your civic right, your civic duty. And many folks have died and blood has been slaughtered for that right. So
Hmm.
that I think that we should necessarily understand the challenges always before us that folks don't believe in it as much.
Hmm.
And it's very, very, very fragmentized when people don't believe in something that they don't want to participate in it.
Right. 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 Yeah, and I feel that's one of the challenges a lot of, especially in our community. I was in the military. I kind of shied away
Hmm.
once that deal happened with Gore back in the day in 2000. It was like a lot of our votes was like, where we're doing absentee voting, and it's like, what happened? But dealing with stuff like that, but I got back involved, as I moved back to North Carolina, and I was just curious, some of the challenges, because like I said, I was that person. I'm gonna be best just transparent. My vote don't count.
Right.
I was that person one time, and it was like, man, why am I wasting my time? And then, like I said, as I start studying and actually becoming more involved, understand, yeah, my vote counts, and we can have a voice by exercising our right to vote. So,
And the funny thing about the voting part is that one of the things that I've always argued and always not necessarily um, been able to say is
mhm,
that, hey, a lot of people worry about, and you should,
mhm,
federal level,
right,
but your vote starts at the local level, right?
right,
And when I talk to folks about it, like these are the people you go to church with, you live in their community, they live down the street from you, and that you typically do life with and making some decisions that affect you day-to-day basis on a day-to-day basis that sometimes you'll stay away, you'll shy away
hmm,
from.
yep,
You'll shy away from voting for your mayor and your city council and your school board members and your local judges. And these are the folks you see every day. You work out with them. And they're making decisions about funding and things that are happening to your school systems right locally. So when you say your vote doesn't count, you got to make sure you exercise your right
hmm.
levels.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's the misconception. A lot of people just feel they're only going to go out presidential elections. That's it, and feel like every the mayor, your senators, everything is going to be on that ballot, but don't understand the seasons sometimes doesn't coincide where
what's
those
going
on the ballot. So you have to educate yourself, like you said, as people like yourself and others that educate and let them know, hey, you need to go out for this last election, for this election and this election, because, just like we had the city councilman a couple of months ago, here in Greenville,
on?
and it was like, people was like, well, what are we voting for? I'm like, this is an important vote. This people representing your community, but yeah, I think, what you're doing is great, man. And what you have been doing is great. So look, giving your flowers while you're here, that's what we don't do. That's what we don't do a lot of. So pushing forward. So you said a family member got you involved with NAACP. So did you hit the ground running once you got the application approved?
I'm telling you, it was like one of those things that I remember it very vividly. He was sitting to the table. We filled out the application, and
Uh-huh.
at the time he gave me a temporary membership card and said, "This is a hold you until you are." He said, "You're a bona fide member of the NAACP."
Uh-huh.
And so I kind of thought I was just going to be a member,
Right.
but he called me the very couple of days later and invited me to a meeting, and actually appointed me to be on the education committee at the time with then the late
Wow.
Reverend Rosa Wilson
Uh-huh.
was the chair, and Miss Faye Wallace and Miss Dolores Nobles, and I was young,
Right.
like young,
Okay.
and so that points another area of making sure that we are meeting at the intersect with all ages, right? To
Yeah.
making sure that we're all having conversations with our elders, with our middle-aged folks, and with our young people, so that we all can come to the table to make a more equitable society. And so I was
Right.
very young at the time.
Hmm.
Most of the folks who I was sitting at the table with were retired and had done life a
Right.
number of years, and they were coming just to give their experience and their expertise back to the community.
Right.
Boy, did they put some workloads on me because they knew I was young, and they were having to have a young body to
Right.
come and do that work. So
Right.
definitely it was a situation of hitting the ground running, and and,
Hmm.
and kind of it met its own challenges, of going and facing challenges with folks who weren't ready to hear ideas that we wanted to push. At the
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
a lot of gang violence and killings going on around the community. We
Hmm.
were trying to advocate for places for these young folks to go in the evenings,
Hmm.
by
Hmm.
advocating for churches and community organizations to come together. Like, could you imagine how many church vans reside in our communities, and can we figure out a way that we could use those vans that pick up folks on Sundays to pick up people after school and to take them to after school programs, or to take them back to their own churches and figure out ways to work with them to keep them out of the streets. And that was met with some resistance at that time from some of the local pastors, and they
Hmm.
didn't like that push. But it just taught me that in order to see change, you got to stick with it.
Yeah.
You can't give up, and it wasn't immediate. Or before and you got to also be ready to get to that place where you can be in a position to help kind of articulate that change a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
staying with the organization, and I didn't go. I didn't leave.
Hmm.
When it got tough, I didn't leave. Uh, when I wasn't popular with it, I didn't leave. I just stood,
Right.
and having a great president like Mr. Henderson, who valued that voice and valued my voice and
Hmm.
valued my position, was very, very helpful. And the wisdom that I gained from a lot of those elders around the table at that time shaped me in becoming sticking with it. And now, as I said, I became second in command to uh, the local branch. And
Wow.
recently, in the last couple of years, I also been appointed to the state level, and a state officer too, on
Okay.
the state NAACP.
Okay. So now that we're here, NAACP, what it explain to the viewers what does that mean? And what does that mean to you? We go
The,
look, that's a two-part answer.
the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, right? Founded February 12th, 1909, following the Niagara movement by some genius integrated folks who came together to just figure out the problem of color in America at that time. Like, how can we stop the lynchings? How can we bring a more equitable society? And so you saw those folks come together in a room in New York and develop, what they consider to be a powerful organization to fight against institutionalized racism.
Okay.
And so and here we are, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
some years later, still fighting.
Right. Right.
And some of the same issues, actually. Just it's changed form, changed uniforms, and the times have changed, but some of the same issues is very, very prevalent.
Hmm.
Folks will ask the question, is the NAACP still relevant? Uh,
Mm.
And yeah, because racism ain't dead. So we're still very relevant. We're not an equitable society, and we can pick it apart. We've seen it shift and change over the last couple of years. And folks have said there was a time when we didn't think the NAACP was relevant, and its relevance has gone, right? But I can say for a fact, we've been fighting when you're sleeping sometimes.
Right.
And not always is the fight necessarily seen in public. Sometimes it's sitting and advocating in spaces that some folks have never actually thought about. And to eradicate social and political and racial changes in America and in our local communities. So definitely what it means to me, I think because once I got plugged into that fire, what it means to me is an opportunity to use a platform to bring about social change, to bring about community changes, and to actually bring us in a table where we can come together with like-minded, and sometimes always not always like-minded, but to kind of kind of rough some things out and figure out what's the best way to help our communities move forward.
Okay. Now, if someone want to get involved locally or in their community, just based off of Greenville or Pitt County, how could they reach you, or how can they get in touch with the chapter?
I definitely we're on Facebook, and so definitely folks use our Pitt County NAACP Facebook page as a link to get up with us. Definitely, if you want to join NAACP, we tell you to join. Membership is our power, and that is the lifeline of the NAACP. And so there are $30 annual membership dues, and you can actually go online and join. Just make sure you choose 5463B for Pitt County branch and become a member of the NAACP. We encourage it because that in order for us to work towards change, whether you like something or not, being a part of it helps to be a part of the solution and not necessarily, the one that complains about all the problems that are happening and who's not addressing them. But at a table where you can help address them, then we can actually come together and find some ways to integrate and come together and address some of these problems that we're seeing in our communities.
Right. So, look, just playing devil's advocate here. So an individual comes to you, they say they want to join, but the fearful of controversy, how do you address that to an individual? Say, hey, it's not always a physical battle or always, antagonistic type approach when you're approaching it. They don't want to look the villain, or they feel some type of way about their employment, joining an association with stigma, quote unquote. I'm just playing devil's advocate right now because I'm educated about it, but I'm just saying for the viewership, just let them know, how do you address those individuals that's concerned about, things on a backlash?
I think that number one, the organization is set up to kind of protect folks who are members. So we don't necessarily publicize our membership roster, who's on our roster, who's a member of the NAACP. We don't actually, and also we look at folks who can be as engaged or disengaged as they would like to be when they join the organization. So if you want to be one of those folks who on the front line working, or if you want to be on the back row, because guess what? It takes all people.
Right.
During the civil rights movement, we had people who were back fixing sandwiches, folks who were marching. Not necessarily all had to be, marching. Some of them were doing some other work, making phone calls, or doing that necessary a part of the work to make that whole machine run smooth. So, of course, there's a place for everybody at the table, whether you want to be on the front or whether you want to be sitting in the back.
Got you. I appreciate that answer, man. That was a great answer. You've been practicing that one. No, I'm just messing. I'm just messing with you, man.
That's what we want to do. We want to make sure our branches again for a number of years. We've been a branch of the year in the state years back under President Henderson's leadership, and we want to go back and restore that mantra back in this community with a very, very engaged branch. And I'm really optimistic that our current leadership and our current executive committee is building a very inclusive and a very action-based and advocacy-based local branch here in Pitt County that's going to address a lot of the systemic issues and a lot of hopefully influence some policy that will help bring about some social and political changes in our community.
Got you. All right. Tough questions. Systemic issues in Pitt County. You have an event coming up. Could you tell people, talking about a little bit of the title of the event, and the purpose behind the event.
Let's talk about it. So Saturday, January 13th, 10 a.m. over at Emmanuel Community Baptist Church on Spate Seed Farm Road,
Mm-hmm.
right here in Winterville, North Carolina. We're having an event, and it's centered around housing. Of course, we know that housing is one of our standing committees with the NAACP. We have at least 18 standing committees, and housing is one of them. And a lot of times we want to really address those systemic issues when it comes to housing, especially for people of color and Black people in our communities. And so when our current legal redress chair came on his chair, we had a pending complaint that we've been working on addressing around housing, and so I won't go into that up here, but
Right.
definitely we saw an opportunity to engage the community to talk about the numerous of the various issues that are encountered with Black folks in housing in our local community. Like, you'd be surprised when it comes from land preservation, and so we had watched the documentary and encouraged folks to watch it. Silver Dollar Road, based right down here in Eastern North Carolina, down in the Carteret County. And so when I talked to our legal redress chair, and she said, let's get together and talk about this event, because this documentary, because these issues not only happen there, but it's happening in so many of our families. And so many of our families and community folks did not have the bandwidth to fight back, the strength to fight back, financially or physically to fight back
Mm-hmm.
uh, against folks who are trying to take their land or took their land or took their houses.
Right.
So we wanted to make sure that we brought some panelists together that could help to kind of discuss the issues around housing and the issues around land preservation as it relates to Black folks and people of color in our communities, because that is a big issue where
Yes.
we're going for people who are in predatory lending and losing their houses because loans are too high, or HOA situations where folks are losing their houses, or people coming in and taking their land because of their property. All sorts of situations come up that sometimes it's a lack of knowledge on our part, or we've not been exposed to, or we don't know the information to get, or we definitely need policy to protect us.
Right.
So hopefully Saturday's event is an event to just start the conversation and
Right.
start the road to advocacy around housing and those issues that are concerns. I mean, right now we see there's federal issues with HUD across the country,
Mm-hmm.
certain complexes that are overcharging people an astronomical amount of money for rent. So we definitely want to make sure that folks are in the building on Saturday. Listening to yourself as you facilitate this fine panel of guests we have
Right.
all over the state to be talking about those issues around housing.
Right. Look, little backstory, Silver Dollar Road. I wasn't going to watch it. So like the person that put us together, Miss Brown, encouraged me to watch that, because like I said, it's so touchy, man. And me being in the military, and then to see things like that happen to people, you know, we fight for justice. We fight for, these equalities for the military. And then to
Right.
see something like that happen in your backyard,
Mm-hmm.
then the world just got smaller. I'm watching a documentary. I played basketball against one of the guys. I guess he was a nephew or a grandson
Wow.
at East Carteret. East Carteret used to be in our conference. That
Wow.
Silver Dollar Road is directly down the street from East Carteret High School. And like I said, one of the guys that was in the documentary, I'm like, yo, I remember this dude from, high school. And he was a Reals. And I'm like,
Wow.
it didn't resonate, but now I'm glad I watched it. But I'm glad you guys are putting this panel together, because I'm sure the same thing has happened here, but they didn't have the resources
Mhm.
to fight as that family did. That family, like you said, they had some business savvy about them to fight, And it's unfortunate the gentleman went to jail 8 years, 8 years for trespassing on property. And it's that was definitely unjust, from my viewpoint. And just the way it was told, I was like, man, this is just a horrible situation. So, could you give us a little details about some of the panelists that are going to be there?
So we have a couple of folks that are going to be on penance. I'm trying to pull it up so I can actually not uh, mess up anything here.
No,
But
that's
we
fine.
have, of course, like I said, yourself facilitating
Hmm.
uh, Miss Dee Dee Carney, who's a local realtor.
Hmm.
We have Mr. James Rose, who's the assistant county manager for planning and environment.
Okay.
We also have Miss Jean Troy, who is from the program manager for North Carolina Human Relations Commissions and Civil Rights Division.
Okay.
We have Miss Stephanie Watkins, who's the director of housing uh, for North Carolina, and we have Daniel Worrell, who's a supervising attorney for legal aid of North Carolina, that's going to be on that panel. So a
Gotcha.
lot of wealth of knowledge, and hopefully a lot of community folks, an opportunity to engage and find out, what we really want to hear about as it relates to some of the Silver Dollar Road situation and some of
Hmm.
the situations seen around our local communities, and then giving opportunities for our community and our audience to ask a few questions
Right.
uh, to the panel. So
Cool, cool, cool. And like I said, this event, I would suggest anyone that's in the community to attend because it's a lot of infrastructure going on in this county. A lot of infrastructure. And is like, I tell some people, I'm like, if we're talking about it, it's already done.
a lot of times we're late to the game by the time we see it.
Yeah.
Uh, on a real talk, like a lot of
Hmm.
time we get the information publicly. They've already had the meetings
It's already
behind
done.
closed door, and they've already made their decisions about it. And so we typically are at a backlash situation where we're fighting, which is all the more reason for us to start being presently and engaged in the community organizing the community organizations. And when folks say come to a meeting, come with your questions, come with your concerns.
Right.
When you see zoning signs going up in your community, go to your city council meetings and figure out what's being built and
Right.
how it's going to affect your community. Like ask the questions that need to be asked, and if you don't know, it's a good time to build you some local advocacy to ask those folks in charge of you. What's happening in our community, what's
Hmm.
going on, how's that going to affect my community or where I live, and what changes should I be? Because guess what happens if you take folks who are already on fixed incomes and you drive the cost of living higher, and then the tax value of their property shoots up and they can't afford to keep it anymore. Or if it's aired property and our elders pass on and hopefully leave these home places to family members and they can't keep it up, because
Yeah.
they don't know the changes of it, and it becomes state or city property or county property, and it's a lot. We've seen it happen to so many of our family members
Right.
where the property gets ate up and then nobody owns it anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's a sad situation. It's unfortunate. I was doing a little research about the incident that happened in Wilmington, early 1900s, and a lot. It was. I actually talked to a gentleman in Atlanta one time. He was actually from Greene County,
Mhm.
but his family had migrated to that Wilmington area in like the 1930s, 1940s, in that South Hall area. And then when the incident happened, a lot of the deeds for the land that they had purchased were burned up in that courthouse on the day
Wow.
of that massacre. So a lot of those people just like, hey, we don't, how can they just took the land and then basically a lot of those people, unfortunately, during that time couldn't read or write. So
It,
it's like they don't know what they signing. They say they were fictitiously saying, hey, here's your deed, but not reading it, and they actually signing over their actual deed to someone else because of manipulation.
Manipulation, and it happened a lot.
And that's happened a lot.
Actually, in that time zone, right after the Civil War, we saw fires happening all over the
Hmm.
South where deeds and things were getting burned up, and
Hmm.
because they knew folks didn't know how to read and write, they were taking their land. Uh, I know of situations in my own family where people were accused of crimes they didn't commit and had to put their land up, in order to save family members from being, hung or
Right.
thrown in jail. So
Hmm.
what do you do when it's the property versus your family member, and you lose hundreds and hundreds of acres of land
Right.
that becomes your family, that should have been your family's birthright.
Right.
Now it's just a discussion that you hear about. Our family owned that land and we no longer own it. And a lot of times, like in one of our family situations. We're looking at, working on an area of our family land just because some, loved ones are buried there.
Okay. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
that's the idea of how much of that has affected, a lot of folks over the South. So these
Mm,
conversations are very important
yeah,
now,
they're very important.
very important of how to maintain our dwelling places in our community so we're not losing our land and
Mhm.
that we're able to hold on to it and we're able to at least pass it on and make it a generational thing.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
But then they're not making no more of his land, right?
It's late, right?
So if we losing it, then we can't obtain it. We
Can't
can't keep
obtain it. Exactly. And then so to attend this event, is there like any type of registration, any type of thing to
it. We do have an Eventbrite link that is moving around. There's actually on our Facebook page at the event that you can actually sign up, and we're just doing it to keep a head count about see how many people are coming.
okay,
Uh, so that's it's not required, but it's highly suggested.
encourage. Okay, encourage. Please,
That
please sign up, people. Please sign up.
come in, please sign up. But if you show up, it's fine. We're going to accommodate you regardless. Uh,
Gotcha.
that's definitely a big plug that everybody come out and try to kick the year off. We thought it not robbery to do it and kick
Mhm,
this off on King Weekend because of him embodying the very essence of what we do now, and him embodying that in his era of
mhm,
work to eradicate social change, and one of the last things he was doing was fighting for uh, the sanitation workers, and
mhm.
so we know if he was fighting for people to work, he's fighting for fair housing too.
Right,
So therefore, we're making sure that we're kicking off the King Weekend for folks who are trying to get out this weekend and kind of just get into that King spirit.
right,
That's the way to do it. But we don't want you to just stop there. We want you
right,
to be plugged in your community, and whether you join the NAACP or not,
right.
uh, we want you to be plugged into your community. We want you to be advocating. We want you to be really getting out there and helping to bring about change. This is a big year
Mhm.
politically. Uh,
Yes.
a couple of weeks, I can't even say a couple of months, but in a couple of weeks, literally, we have early voting kicking off in our county for the statewide elections, and so
Wow.
yes, February
Okay.
15th, first have early voting.
Wow. Okay.
So
Just
we
taught
on
me something. Just taught me something.
a lot of time. So so
Yeah.
so kick it off, and this is a statewide. So what's on the ballot? Everything's on the ballot. Your president, gubernatorial, Senate, Congress, and we're fighting gerrymandering, and all the stuff that's happening right now in North Carolina to discourage folks from voting. It should be the reason that everybody turns out and go vote.
So in experience, this last the local election we had, um, I'm used to just telling my name, my address, what have you, as my identifier. And then she was like, "Well, I need a ID." I was like, "It's just unfortunate I have a military ID on, so it was a government ID, so I have a military ID." And showed it to her. I was like, I said, "What?" Me not knowing, not keeping abreast of what's going on. I'm
Right.
like, I ain't know I was
Doctrine,
supposed
right?
to have an ID. You know what I mean? So on my exit poll, it was like, I said, honestly, I was like, because it's my first time doing it. I said, I appreciate it, but it was a little uncomfortable at first. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm just used to going in and telling, and there's a point of registration, because I'm registering and saying who I am. So it's double verification, you know what I mean? So I felt a little uncomfortable at first, but then I was like, okay, well, to keep some stuff going on, I don't know what's going to happen this year. So let me, you know what I'm saying? I'm cool with it. But for those individuals that don't have ID, how are you guys advocating and trying to get those people, push those people to go get IDs? And
Yep.
is there
I,
another way to vote without your ID?
I, there are organizations that are advocating
Okay.
uh, ID, voter IDs.
Hmm.
A lot of stuff going around litigation around that. So I don't want to speak too much into that right now.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Definitely know that there are organizations, and if you come, you'll probably get plugged into folks
Okay.
who can get you in the right direction to get an ID to vote to make sure that you have all you need to go vote and everything you need. The best thing to do is if you don't know, if you're unsure, get
Hmm.
plugged in. Like
Gotcha.
my computer over. Get plugged in and so that you'll know exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
around our community right now.
Yeah. Because like I said, that is like you said, it was just fortunate. I was like, I had my military ID for some odd reason in my pocket, just and I was like, look, I got these bad knees. I ain't feel like walking back to the car. Hey, look, so look, because I might have not voted that day. You know what I mean? Because I might be like, hey,
Think about this, right? So this is why we talk about voter ID being something that disenfranchises people to vote.
yeah,
So if you don't have an ID, if you don't have access to ID, and you think about people in rural communities or in
hmm
places they don't have access to get somewhere to get an ID or don't have the money to get IDs,
right,
guess what happens? If they would have showed up to the polls, that would have been a vote we would have lost. So
exactly.
people, there's no, you need an ID to do this. You need an ID, but a lot of these folks don't have banking accounts. A lot of these
Mm-mm,
folks don't travel. A lot of these folks don't own their houses. So
mm-mm.
talk about why all the places you need to use ID.
Right.
A lot of these folks don't have it. They don't have
Yeah.
to, but they don't go to the doctor. They don't, a lot of that stuff doesn't work for them. So systematically, when you think if it's equitable,
hmm
it may not be. I mean, we could challenge it all day long, but we think
Right.
about the least of them in our community. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
That they
hmm
don't have access to that, and that's the big argument sometimes.
Right.
We're talking about the least of them who have the right to vote but can't vote.
hmm
Because I'm telling them you're putting in what we call a new age poll tax, and then by saying they need something else just to get them to the poll.
Yeah, man, that's deep right there, brother. And also tell people a little bit about the event one more time, and then I got one more question for you. Just tell them about the event coming
Saturday,
up.
Saturday, January 13th, 10 a.m. And like I said, Emmanuel Community Baptist Church. The pastor is Pastor Mary Worsley is hosting the housing event. We're talking all about housing with a guest panelist. And like I said, our good brother Charlemagne is going to be facilitating that event. And we're talking about housing and all housing related and fair and equitable housing in our county and land preservation in the Black community. And we really need you to be a part of that conversation because it doesn't just start there, but it opens up the door for so much more that we're going to be trying to do in the future in this year around housing.
Right. And what I'll do also when I post this content, I'll put the link in the description so people could go there and also copy and sign up through the Eventbrite because like you said, numbers are powerful. Because if you want to have this event again, like, well, we had 1,000 people show up. You know what I'm saying? So are you going to stream it as well?
Yeah, we're gonna have
Okay,
streaming, so it's live stream.
live stream. Okay, and it's just going to be through the NAACP website,
Website, Facebook page.
Facebook page. Okay, all right, cool. So make sure you guys in this NAACP Pitt County chapter, correct?
Pitt
On
County
Facebook.
chapter. Pitt
On,
County chapter,
on
NAACP.
Facebook. Oh,
Pitt
so it's
County
Pitt County chapter did. Okay. It's on
NAACP.
Facebook. So yeah, you guys make sure you follow that. And I'm gonna put that link in as well to make sure people are abreast what's going on. And so one more question for you, Reggie. Being an educator and being an activist, how has that been in the education system, how has that affected you to advocate even more? Or does it feel like sometimes it's just you just go home drained? How does that how does that
Well,
affect you?
honestly, it fuels me to advocate more.
Okay.
I teach fourth and fifth grade, and I teach a population of students that become the very epicenter of what we fight for,
hmm
right? And so when it comes to making sure they have access to fair and equitable education, they need safe housing. All right, like all
hmm
these issues that we think about, they need access to medical doctors, and so Medicaid expansion and all those things that we fight around affects our children, right? So I get to see it day to day. So if they don't have, if they don't have a meal, or they're lacking something that has not been provided for them, of course, it makes me want to fight harder to make sure their needs are being met and they're actually getting provided for, and they're getting an opportunity for somebody to stand up for them. Because
hmm
guess what? That's what we're called to do. And so we're called to work in a place where we will leave this world better than we found it.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that I guess that could say that's part of the reason I can it makes me work harder.
Yeah. I was just curious, just sit here, listen to you talk, listen to your passion. And then, everybody, the education piece is always a topic of discussion throughout the world, throughout our country, for
Right.
sure, because the wages of teachers, is and then the things that they have to put up with, and and then but you seeing it firsthand, from being an educator, you're like, wow,
And the thing about it, Charlemagne, because I see it not from the student perspective, but also from my coworkers who are teachers who are dealing with the side of it that, hey, we don't always get all that we are deserving as teachers
right.
and as support staff and as folks who work in the education system, whether you drive the buses or you are a custodian or you are, and whatever capacity you work in that affects,
Hmm.
I even that part of watching them say, hey, I wish somebody knew all that we had to do on a day, and they should question why we asking for more pay and why we asking for
Right,
better, like that kind of stuff. So and then so it's kind of twofold. I
right.
see it from angles, and so of course that makes you advocate when you're in positions that I'm in, that I get to go back and tell these stories firsthand. That
Hmm.
because somebody told me, not because
Right.
I overheard it, because I work it.
You work it, you live it, you live it. And salute to you, brother. But all right, man. Look, I didn't go take up too much of your time. I know you got class coming up tomorrow. But and look, before we go, I need you to drop a nugget for the listeners on behalf of Reggie. Then I want to do a little selling point to people to join the NAACP.
On behalf of Reggie, I just want to tell folks, man, stay engaged, stay encouraged that this is not a place to give up. This is a place for us to build momentum and keep pushing forward and keep making a more inclusive and a more equitable society and a better community. And the only way we do it is pulling together. Let's put our differences aside, pull up our sleeves and get in the dirt and work. And as the NAACP, we the oldest, boldest, most discussed civil rights organization in the world. Come on, join the fight of freedom and help make this world a better place. It's $30 a year. That's the minimum.
All
I don't
right,
know,
man.
a lot of work.
Man, look, I appreciate this conversation and looking forward to the event. And like I said, this conversation is going to carry on beyond this event, because I think you guys are doing a lot of groundwork to make things aware to what's going on in our community. And I appreciate that from being from this community, you know what I mean? Because a
So
lot of people, you don't see it,
yes, sir. And we're hoping that the more we can actually bring these issues to the forefront, and the more we have, more conversations we have, and the more advocacy we do around these issues, that it'll bring more folks saying, "What can I do to get in the cause, and what can I do to help change and bring about these changes that we need to make this place better."
Got you, man. Appreciate you again, brother. And salute to you. And like I said, keep fighting, keep up the fight. You gotta go. Look, I know some of your family members, man. We go way back, and it's just a blessing to be attached to genuine people. You
Yes, sir.
know,
Yes, sir,
man.
man. Even who I am today, man. One of them. So I think about them on a regular basis.
Yeah, yeah,
That a lot of the seeds that were deposited in me to be the person I am today was because
right.
some shoulders. And I stand on their shoulders. The
Uh-huh.
ones here and the ones that are going on, it's
Right.
definitely stand on their shoulders, and I'm praying they're proud of me.
Yeah. Yeah, they are, man. 'Cause like I said, we look back in history, like I was telling you before we even started, my grandmother, she basically knew all. That's why I learned about Scuffleton. Traveling
Right,
with my grandmother down there, some of them used to work at sewing plants together,
right.
years ago in Blue Barrel and in Farmville and all these
Yeah,
other little sewing plants, man. And that's how they met each other.
right.
But they, back in the day, it was like a community. Everybody kind of, fed off each other. You know what I'm saying? Look, they had a meeting on Sunday. Somebody will bring the vanilla wafer, somebody will bring the cheese, and somebody gonna bring that Pepsi Cola.
Everybody knew my aunt in Aiden, man, when
Yeah.
she ran a flower shop. So, of course, everybody knew Miss Rena.
Miss Rena,
So,
yeah. And like I said, her and my aunt was like best friends, like till the day she passed. And she used to
like,
go down there and help her with the arrangements.
Everybody went by Miss Rena's flower, and
Green flower, yeah, man.
my uncles and aunt. My uncles were notorious hunters, and
Hmm.
someone who just passed away a couple of months ago, like Usher, and so like I came from a good stock of folks, man.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Genuine people. Like I said, your brother and I, we can't tell stories about us on the air, but hey, genuine dude from the day I met him, I was about, man, I think I met him, I was about 12 or 13 when I met your brother. And
Oh,
man, got still, check up on me to this day. To this
he's
day. And
still my daddy to this day, so I'm gonna just leave it at that.
that's my guy though, man. Shout out to Marlo. That's one of my veteran botanies. And man, just a blessing, man. But like I said, people, I appreciate you guys listening. Hey, if you're in the area, make sure you drop by the event on Saturday. I'm gonna have the link in the body of this description of this video or this audio. So feel free to click the link. And definitely, if you can't make it in person, watch it virtually. And because it's going to be some great information and a lot of information from people that make decisions. I say that's the thing. Sometimes we get caught up in people that don't make decisions. And they're important as well, but we need to listen to and be in touch with decision makers and have them on your speed dial sometimes, So, but yeah, tap in if you can, people, and make sure you follow me on all platforms, Spotify, our podcast, also YouTube, and also on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, so feel free to follow and subscribe. And until next time, it's your boy, the Real Charlemagne, signing off. Peace.